Hello, we are going to continue with the topic Halloween because next weekend in Europe, some countries will celebrate this, and especially in places like the UK and America. So let's see what I have today on the screen. Right, so here we have to match a few words with the definition. So Nia, can you do abandoned? What do you think that is?
Abandoned.
You have to choose from the sentences we have on the screen.
I don't know the meaning.
Anyone? Or I will help Nia. Do you know
Yes.
Anna by any chance?
Abandon.
Yeah.
A
Think of
quicker way to
abandoned
get
house.
somewhere.
Sorry?
No. Abandoned, yeah, empty with abandoned. I know in my mother tongue, empty with, yes, yeah, empty with no one living there.
Right. So something that is abandoned means that it's empty and there is nobody living there. It could be an abandoned car as well. An abandoned car means that it did have an owner, but now nobody is there and it's just left there in the middle of nowhere, right? Abandoned. So
Yes.
nobody wants it. Sometimes I just came into my head. Have you ever heard of abandoned babies? Sometimes you read in the newspapers that someone had a baby that they don't want and they abandon it in someone's doorway and they leave it there. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, Lord.
Oh,
in
Lord.
our country, it is common.
Oh, gosh. Sometimes some things come into my head. So years ago, I used to hear of abandoned babies left in the doorway of the church or in a doorway where they knew, or the police station or somewhere where they knew they were going to be found, no? Right. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Anis, but there we are. Alex, wonder.
Wonder. I think this meaning go from place to place,
Right.
walking without meaning.
Yeah, so for me
Without
to
reason.
wander around is that you're walking, but you've got no any idea really where you want to go. Now, we could confuse with another word with an O, which is wonder.
Yes.
I wonder what to do. So it's not the same, but it sounds a little similar, no? So we have to be careful. Right, Anas, shortcut.
A quicker way to get somewhere. That's so.
Right.
To get somewhere, okay?
Do you ever take a shortcut, Anas?
Yes, always I take shortcuts. And because here petroleum prices has been escalating day by day. So
right.
every time I get any shortcuts.
Right, sometimes though, shortcuts can be a dangerous way to go. So if the normal way is to go along the road where it's all lit up and you can see what you do, normally a shortcut is where there are trees or vegetation and it can be quite scary, no? Okay.
Yes,
And the last
roads
one,
can be quite dangerous.
yeah. And so, Nia, what is the last one?
Pour means rain very hard.
Right, to pour down, for example. So as you can imagine, these words are going to be in the story.
It is pour or power. How can we pronounce it? Power or pour?
No, pour down. I'm laughing because as I'm from the north, I pronounce the U very strongly. So to pour water into a cup.
Pouring.
So you will hear a variation of pronunciation with every word, because if you're from the north or you're the south, you pronounce it a little different. I pronounce, excuse me, some words stronger because I'm from the north, and in the south, they pronounce them softly. Right?
Okay.
So I said, so also it's a good idea to put them in a sentence because you may hear them a lot easier. So it poured down with rain. It's pouring now. So if you take it out of the sentence, maybe it sounds a little different. And when you run it all together, it has a special sound, okay? And also you can look on the internet and listen to it a few times.
Okay.
Right, so Nia, you're going to start, and the little spaces, you can put our names. You can put Alex and Anna's. So off you go.
Yeah. Halloween, I went trick or treating with my best friends Anna, Alec, and Letty. Our pillowcases were full of candy, and it was getting late, so my friends wanted to go home. I want,
Now, do we understand pillowcases?
yes,
So we have a pillow in the bed, and
Yes.
the covering on the outside to protect the pillow is called a
Yeah.
pillowcase.
yes,
Hello.
You're
So-
looking at
I
me
have
funny,
been
Alex.
understood. Yes,
yes,
Sorry?
I have been understood trick or treating.
Oh, right, you haven't watched our videos of Halloween. So
Yeah.
the children knock on the doors on the 31st and they go trick or treat, and they're asking for sweets.
Okay.
So if you watch our videos, you will understand, because it's explained there about the custom in the UK and America and where it came from, right? So on the 31st, we have this very unusual celebration, which I'm not going to go into now. And part of it is the children going around the houses at night and asking for sweets.
Mhm.
So if you think trick or treat equals sweets, and you will remember that one. Right, Alex, if you continue.
Okay, I wanted a few more chocolate bars, so I turned to my friends and said, let's knock on a few more doors and then head for home. Head for home.
Right, so head for home, it's an expression that means to go home. Right, so this is
Okay.
when you're reading a story, the vocabulary can be more colorful. So they could have said, and then go home. No, they wanted to use a little bit different, the words, and head for home. Continue, Alex.
Okay, and they were worried because they thought it was already too late. Let's go home now, they said to me. I told them not to worry because we could take a shortcut through the old forest.
Right, so you can imagine, no? If you're going to take a shortcut through the forest. So, Anna, it's your duty now to read and answer the questions about this little bit.
Okay.
Read the question.
Where are the questions? Yes,
What
sorry.
is happening?
Yes. What is happening at the beginning of the story? At the beginning of the story, some friends they went trick or treating
That's it.
each other.
Right, so they went trick or treating together. Okay.
Yes.
You have to be careful when you're answering the questions, not to answer too much, because you could answer two questions in one. So you just need to do the basic. Right, question number 2. What did the writer?
Why did the writer want to go to a few more houses?
Yes, why did he want to continue?
I wanted a few more chocolates, so I
So
turned to
he
my
wanted
friends.
a few more chocolate bars. So
Yes.
does anyone know of a word that means when you have enough and you don't really need any more, but you ask for more? Begins with a G.
Jealous.
No,
No.
Generous.
Greedy.
Ge-
Greedy.
gener-
So,
Greedy,
for
greedy,
example,
greedy.
I have 4 bars of chocolate. I have enough, no? But I'm
Greedy.
going to get 2 more. So it
Yes.
means I'm greedy, right?
I'm
I'm
greedy.
greedy because I want more than is necessary. And the last question, Anna?
Why didn't the writer worry because it was getting late? The writer haven't worried because they thought it was already too late. Let's go home now.
No, for me, you've not answered the
Yes.
question.
We could
Anyone?
take no, sorry. We could take the writer thought that they could take a shortcut through the old forest, so
Right,
they can reach
okay,
it.
now you've answered the question for me.
Okay.
So here we have, the children were trick and treating. He wanted some more chocolate bars. And why didn't the writer worry? Because it was getting late. Because he was going to take a shortcut, no? Right then, are we ready? Mia, if you read this little bit now.
Yes. So after a few more houses, I took my friends to the path that went through the forest. We walked about 20 minutes, and then suddenly I felt very strange. I couldn't remember the way. It was dark and foggy. We were lost, and to make matters worse, it started to rain, and then it started to pour. Lightning lit up the sky, and thunder rang in our ears. I wandered around in the rain for over 2 hours. We were very wet and very cold. And then at about midnight, I saw an old abandoned house on the hill.
Right, okay. So foggy, how would you describe foggy?
Foggy, means
Something
it's
Anyone?
clear. It's not
Oh,
clear.
fog.
It's a lot of.
It's
We
not
are not
clear.
able to
So we
see.
can imagine like this, no? It's like
Yes.
misty and we can't see because the clouds are, it's not clouds, but it's like a cloud covering. So foggy stops us from seeing clearly. And
Yes.
so you can imagine they've been walking around for about 2 hours in the rain. And so you can imagine, right, Alex, continue to finish the story.
Okay. I think we will have to spend the night in that old house and wait till morning, I said. My friends didn't think it was a good idea, but they were cold and wet, so they agreed. We woke up at the old wooden steps to the front door. The door cracked and opened, and we went inside, sat down, and started to eat a chocolate bar. When?
Right, so the friends didn't think it was a good idea, but as they were cold and wet, they agreed. They walked up the old wooden steps. Steps are like this, outside of a house, right? So you
Yes.
walk up the steps to the front door, and the door creaked. It's a sound when the door opens, right? I'm sorry if I'm very visual because I don't know how to explain it. Like, so you imagine an old wooden door opening, and when it opened, it made the sound, no? So they went inside and they started to eat the chocolate bars, right? So, Anis, you have the questions again.
What was the weather?
What was the weather like in the forest?
What was the weather
The
like?
weather wasn't good. It was dark and foggy. Then it started to rain. Then it was pouring down, lightning and thunder.
Right. So it was foggy, then it started to rain, and it started to rain very heavily. So it was pouring down, and the thunder, no,
Yes.
lightning,
Yeah.
thunder and lightning. What
Yeah.
is thunder? The light or
Thunder
the
means
sound?
sound.
Sound. And lightning is the light, no? And do you know there is a time between the lightning and the thunder? If you
Is there an
first
actual
see the
time?
lightning, no? You
Accurate
see the
time?
lightning,
Ah,
and then you hear the sound. And as
Yes, yes.
children, we used to count. We used to go 1, 2, 3, until we heard the thunder. And then we used to say, oh, it's 3 kilometers away, or it's 10 kilometers away, depending of the distance between the lightning and the sound. I don't know if it was true or not, but that's what we used to do.
It's related with the speed of the sound. It's so 300 kilometers per second.
Right. So we were playing like a child's game, but it wasn't too bad. No, we used to do that. So we used to hide underneath the table when the lightning, and then we used to start to count and decide how far it was away. And if we couldn't count because we heard the noise so quickly, we switched off the television, we switched off everything. Right.
Yes.
So the next question.
Actually, it has been.
Sorry.
Actually, it has been powering down in my state since 2 weeks, and some of the places are full of water. They have been in flood.
Right. So where you live, it's been pouring down from rain for 2 weeks, and now you are flooded in some places. But is
Yes.
it the rainy
Flood.
season?
No, it is not the rainy season.
All right, because I thought I remember that not being so long ago. So it's just by chance it's been raining a lot, and now you're flooded in some of the places. Right. The next question.
Yes. Did the writer's friend think it was a good idea to stay in that house? No, they didn't think it was a good idea, but they don't have other option. They were very cold and wet, so they
No,
agreed
you're
to
answering
stay
the
there.
next question. So why did the friends agree to stay at the house? Because they were cold
Okay.
and they were wet. And the last question, what did they do as soon as they went inside the house?
They sat down. They went inside, they sat down and started to have a chocolate bar.
Right, so they started to eat a chocolate bar. So Anna, if you were my student, I would say be very careful when you're answering the questions, because you only want to answer specifically your question and not all the questions in the first one. Okay. Now, do we understand the story? We're very quickly going to try and write a few sentences to continue. So it says, when we went inside and sat down and started to eat a chocolate bar, when?
When?
So let's see if you've got any creativity. So here we have some words. Screamed. Naya, what is screamed?
The sound of
Heard a
moving
noise.
the door.
Like that, no? To scream is when you got shouting, but like a big noise. Right. Cobwebs. Nobody? Cobwebs is where a spider lives.
Spider, yes.
Once you told me, Anis, you
spider
have these in your house.
Yes. And
So
we
in the
had a
corner-
meeting about all these insects.
Yeah, so in the corner of the wall, a spider can make its little house, and it's a cobweb. Heard a
Yes.
noise, saw a light, heard footsteps. Do we understand heard footsteps? Right? Dawn is when the light is coming up in the morning, and ran
Yes.
down the hall and hid under the bed. So, Anna, instead of being the last one, you can be first. So they've sat down in the house. They've started to eat the chocolate bar. And what do you think happened next?
They heard of footsteps. No,
When?
they hid under the bed.
But why are we going to hide under the bed? Don't start to
I
jump
know.
ahead of you. It's a story.
They heard the footsteps. They heard.
Oh,
the
they heard
footsteps.
when they
Heard.
heard
Huh?
some
I didn't get you.
when they heard a noise. When they heard
Yes. Then they heard noise. They heard footsteps. They heard.
when they
Footsteps
heard a
means they hid.
noise. When they heard a noise,
Noise?
I'm helping you. It sounded
Okay.
like
Okay. Actually,
a footsteps.
it sounded like footsteps.
Okay.
Right.
Now I am.
Naya, you continue.
They hid under the bed. They screamed. They corridor.
Hide.
Went down the corridor to the hide under the bed.
Right.
The corridor. I don't know corridor.
Well, I thought I saw corridor there before. Right, Alex, can you continue?
Yes, there was too dark and and they see cobwebs and yeah. Cobwebs.
Anything else?
After that, they turned back and saw a light from the door.
But I'm under the bed, don't forget. So I came from under the bed. You remember, I am not in your head. You have to tell me.
They near the bed, but they turned back and see
Right.
a light from the door.
I saw a light in the doorway.
In the doorway.
Anything else?
They are ready to scream.
They screamed, or they are thinking about it?
They're thinking about it. They keep silence but ready to scream. They wanted to scream.
They were too frightened.
Yeah.
Too frightened.
So when they heard a noise, it sounded like footsteps. So they ran down the corridor to hide under the bed. It was very dark, but they could see some cobwebs. They saw a light in the doorway. They wanted to scream, but they were too frightened. And to finish?
And eventually, in the house, appeared some old man.
I want to finish it quickly without going on too long.
Okay. They ran away from the window.
they are until the dawn.
And then we can leave it, no?
Yes.
So let's see. Now, the beauty of this, when you are writing, you can always add more things every time you read it, no? When you have more time. So when they heard a noise, it sounded like footsteps. So they ran down the corridor to hide under the bed. It was very dark, but they could see some cobwebs. They saw a light in the doorway. They wanted to scream, but they were too frightened. They stayed there until dawn.
Until the dawn.
So dawn is when the light comes up at 6 o'clock, right? So
Yeah.
we will leave that there.
Mhm.
So did you find that interesting? At least if you didn't like it. Did you find that okay?
Yes,
Yeah,
Right, it
it's-
was a
Yes,
little
yes.
different.
it was fun.
And also we wrote something there. So thank you for coming. And we have talked a little bit more about Halloween.